Little prices will all come together. Happy Father's Day from Builders Paradise.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Talk That Get Results. I'm Webbo Herbert, and as per usual, we're here every Tuesday evening with something that at least we think is of community interest and or of some concern. And if you think that you have something which fits into that category, you'd like to find out how you can be a part of the program, well, why don't you drop us a line, address it to a Let's Talk program in K.O. Vaughan Radio, P.O. Box 195, Charlestown in Nevis. So give us a call. Our numbers are 1-869-469-1616 and 1700. And by the way, those will be the numbers you'll use to be a part of this evening's discussion. Again, thank you all very much for joining us. This is your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. With regard to your participation in the show, we encourage you to call in on the numbers listed, 1-869-469-1616 or 1700. Here's a suggestion. You have a question or comment, perhaps you can get a pencil, piece of paper, write it down so you're well organized, and when you're getting on the show, you take as little time as possible so that we can accommodate as many of you as we can. We ask only, first of all, you respect yourselves and then respect others, because we will not accept anything that we deem is not within our broadcast standards, but we encourage you to always be forceful with your point. Thank you all again for joining us, your voice in the community, Talk That Get Results. Tonight, Roger Fifield, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to my fellow panelists, Naya, and of course, good evening to all those who are listening and viewing near and far. Webbo, I'm extremely happy to be back on the program after a couple of weeks being absent. Really happy. Webbo, I want to thank the many persons who would have reached out to me, call me, message me. You know, I honestly didn't know that, you know, not just the listenership, but persons who particularly listen to me, you know, would have missed me, and say how much they would have missed me. And I'm grateful, and I want to thank you, Webbo, for the platform that you would have provided, not just for myself, but for so many over the years. And no doubt you would continue to provide this platform for many more to come. Webbo, I want to say a special good evening to all those who are celebrating birthdays, anniversary, etc. I want to say a special good evening to Mr. Orwell Hanley. Happy birthday to you. Hope you're having a wonderful birthday. Hanley, my former boss, you know, right there in Rollins. Special good evening to you, sir. I want to say those who might be in the bereavement column, you know, my sympathy goes out to you. I want to say a special sympathy greeting to the family of Mr. Roy Simmons. I'm told that he passed away recently. I also want to say condolences to the family of Tapoon. He was laid to rest earlier today. Tapoon, I know him as played football against him. Many moons ago, he was one of Navy's better footballers, in my opinion, that is. And, you know, I want to say to the family, you know, keep his memory and, you know, cherish his memory along with the Simmons family. Webbo, with your permission, Webbo, I just want to, because this is my first program, Webbo, after Easter, and with your permission, if I can just speak a little to say thank you to all those who entrusted their family, their children in our care at our Easter camp. We had 102 persons camping this year. It was a successful camp. I want to say a special good evening and thank you to all those who contributed, all those who sponsor, all those who would have given a word of encouragement in whatever way you would have contributed. We want to say a hearty thank you, Webbo. Webbo, as per usual, we are encouraging persons to call into the program. You know, it is your program, our program, a program that you're the callers. You can learn something from us, and of course, we can learn something from you. So please, we're asking you to call in. And Webbo, I'm looking forward for a fruitful discussion this evening. Thank you once again for your invitation, Webbo.
Conrad Naya Liebert, good evening.
Good evening, Webbo, and good evening to your hard-working staff here at the Powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean. To my friend Fifield, good evening. Welcome back. It wasn't really a couple of weeks. It's quite some time. It's more than 5 weeks. But we always say couple sometimes. I'm happy to have you back around the table. I want to invite everyone to get close to their whatever means of communication that you're on about in today's world of technology, and to be a part of the program. I want to hail my friends once again in Toronto, and once again in Connecticut, and once again Mr. Herbert there in Florida. Special good evening to you. Welcome again to the program. And Webbo, we gather once again in the name of the Lord, as I always say, to discuss the issues affecting the people home and abroad, and to really have an insight into what is going on, and hopefully sometimes try to find some solutions, try to lift some spirits, try to communicate some inspiration to the people, so that we can live and live again, and we can make the best of our life and get the most out of it, and at the same time share the blessing with our neighbors and our friends, and to help out when the needs be. The strong should continue to assist the weak, and things like that, I suppose, make a good society. And sometimes I want to just remind us all about these little things, these little intricacies of life. Sometimes we are so driven by the institutions, mainly the bank, driven to meet our obligations, driven by ambition. Nothing is wrong with that at all. But sometimes the little things, that counts is, to make someone have a better day, inspire them, encourage them, support them, and so we ought not to forget these little things. And of course, we must be ambitious and pursue high goals. And whatever institution we can use as a ladder, I suppose we can do that and get along and make a positive mark on society and on the people amongst whom we live. Webbo, I'm very happy to be here tonight, and I want to engage in a fruitful discussion. I met a guy just the other day, and he said he's going to call in tonight because he don't think the talk we had about him or with him have brought any results. So he said he's going to question this talk that get results thing. So I hope he's listening, and I hope he's motivated to call in. And with that, I say thank you once again, Webbo, to you and your staff here at the Powerhouse. And I look forward towards a good discussion this evening.
Okay, well, I imagine and hope that Roger is ready to go with some topical issues, since he hasn't been here for a while. And I got to let you know, Roger, that the questions have been many as to where is Roger. And that is very good, which means that the folks appreciate what we already know and appreciate what you do in the society. And again, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank not just you, but everybody who contributes, because I read a quotation, and I've said it often since, that evil is what happens when good people stand aside and just grumble or say nothing. So after all, the world came into being by the Word. The Word, therefore, is a powerful, and I dare say the most powerful thing. And it can be used for good and bad. So what we do talk. Most of the times we do talk that get results. Some people debate that, and that's what it's all about, right? So Roger, again, we want to let you know that the folks appreciate what you do. We here appreciate what you do, and hoping, of course, that you're rearing to go. Let me just say good night to Ted again. Ted Hobson, we got you. And let me just say here that our anniversary, Von anniversary, is coming up. And I think we'll start next week. We normally do, for the past 2 years, some historical flashbacks, etc., which folks always ask for an extended period. I don't know how long they're going to do it this time. But this time, we're going to be doing a special feature on who else? Edric W. Stanley and his contribution. So we're going to be getting a special segment on a daily basis of Edric W. Stanley so that we don't easily forget his contribution. I'm personally very excited about it. The folks here, the technical people, have been putting stuff together, and I encourage folks to tune in every day, different times of the day, and hear not only the other clips, but in particular the special feature, Edric W. Stanley. He did over 30-something years, consecutive years. There are a couple of times when he's not scheduled, and I dare say the guy was such a soldier that with minutes to go, somebody flips out on me. And I would call and say, Edric, I'm all alone. He says, I come in. And sometimes he would reach in his seat before I sit down in mine. So dedicated was he, and doing that service. So please listen out for that. We're going to do some special feature with him on a daily basis, different clips, contributions that he had made. So I just want you all to help me to let everybody know so that they can listen. Okay, so what we got tonight?
But just on the heels of what you would have just said, I want to congratulate you and the radio station for a phenomenal job that you are doing, and you continue to do, Webbo. I believe that this is, a staple in the community. Everyone listen out for Von, listen to Von for information that they can trust, and we say kudos to you and your staff again, Webbo. Webbo, when you spoke a while ago, my mind flashed back, 2 years ago, the Super Saturday and the sporting activities at the E.T. Willett Park, many years ago, once named Grove Park, Webbo. I'm not sure if that could come on stream again, in maybe years to come, maybe not this year, but lots of persons, including myself, really looked out for the Super Saturday, Webbo. I think that maybe if you can probably find some clips, of Super Saturdays over the years, Webbo, I think persons would probably really be appreciative and welcome that also, Webbo. And of course, Webbo, we cannot downplay what the contribution that Mr. Stanley would have made over the many years. You would have indicated that is 30 plus years, and for anyone to be that committed, for 30 plus years, coming here every Tuesday night, week after week, that person, must be celebrated, even though he has now gone to the great beyond. His life, his legacy, would live on. And this is one way that Von Radio, is making that, or keeping that legacy of this great man, Mr. Stanley, alive, Webbo. Webbo, I would have heard on the the news just recently that there's been some scamming, and what I realized too is that vehicles in recent time would have been lost or stole, in St. Kitts Nevis, and I think this is cause for concern. I do not know if we are leaving our vehicles, unlocked, if we are leaving the keys in our vehicle. Persons are getting around the technology. There are a number of persons, in the Federation who have, alarms and such like on their vehicles. And in a conversation just recently, someone told me that there's some technology now that you can use to bypass those alarms that are on vehicles. So I want to appeal, to us all, for us to be extra careful in the way we secure our vehicles. Maybe we probably want to secure them in our yards. If not, if we don't have the space and a garage, probably in a place that is well lit. That I think would minimize, theft. So that, persons, when they see these place well lit, it could be a deterrent, Webbo. So I just want to appeal to all of us. And this coming, Webbo, we have to be very, very careful in terms of, how we communicate, what we divulge, what we said to persons. We probably give persons our information. We probably, some of us are scrupulous, unscrupulous, and we give out information without even thinking. There are persons out there who are ready and really ready and want to tear us apart. They would sit all day and they would figure how can I scam these people. And I think, if I can recall correctly, there was a particular incident right here in the Federation where some $10,000 was scammed from someone who thought that they were purchasing a vehicle from a legitimate source. So we probably want to do some back-checking, some fact-checking before we jump ahead. We need to ask questions, go to the to where we register our businesses. Maybe what need to happen, Webbo, to conduct these businesses, maybe we have to be tougher in terms of make sure that these transactions, especially online, are registered and stuff like that. I think that the bank would have an important part to play, because once monies are transferred, bank to bank, from person to bank, I believe that the bank would have some information. I know the bank, they are tight-lipped on certain information, but we have to be in a position to help each of us, for us to go through this particular phase where it appears as if that we are in right now.
Thoughtful. Scamming is on the rise in a big way. It's as technology unfolds, I think people tend to unfold that deleterious part of them, I suppose, and engage in activities which is beneficial to them, in many cases illegally, basically hurting someone else on the other end of the line. It's taking the Caribbean by storm, especially the bigger islands. But online scamming is something that goes on, whether on the smaller islands or on the bigger islands, in a big way. It's become a lifestyle for some people who just sit home and get on with the business of scamming people their money, especially online scamming. Scamming on a local front is a bit more difficult, I suppose, in these little islands, because I know in the bigger country, what they do sometimes is like they have a unknown location of say a hardware that doesn't exist, or a shopping appliance store, and they will sell on hire purchase and scam a lot of money in that way, and when people sometimes drive to that location, there's no actual store there. I think that a lot of that is going on in places like Jamaica and Trinidad and so forth. But the online scamming, is major, because you can do that from anywhere. Any small island individual can do that. Information can be had from places like call centers and so forth, where they get particular telephone numbers and of people, and they tend to target older people. And so it is something that we must wake up to here in Nevis, St. Kitts Nevis. Otherwise, it's going to wake us up. And of course, banks are always targeted, and so it's just something we got to live with. We got to probably put a lot more safety practices in place. And as I say, the youths somehow are more advanced and more friendly with advancing technology, and in many cases is very young people are initiating these type of stuff. In places like Jamaica, if you have a good accent in speaking and you can speak well, that is one of the qualification, and to be and of course you possess that devious mind. To really get on to people and make them feel like you're legitimate, and so people live by that means. It's actually one of the things that's been accentuating the whole crime scene in bigger countries, because now you have information which I would like to have, so that I can get on with my scamming. And sometimes I give you such information and you get this big chunk of money and you don't want to share it with me. And so there's a lot of murders these days happening in the bigger islands, especially in Jamaica, springing from this scamming thing, really. And so, you'll be surprised to know the means, the ways and means that's been adapted to effectuate scamming. I mean, one will. I was talking to a police officer when I was in Jamaica, and he was just telling me some of the things that he experienced within the field of scamming and so forth. I mean, you would receive a brand new key, and you probably will be told that you're a winner of this brand new car, this brand new BMW, and you probably need to send some cash in order to get it to you, or to get it ready for shipping, or get it ready but you already got the key, and so you really feel like you can probably send a few $1,000s. You got a brand new keys here, and so you advance such money, and so but the ways and means are very adverse, very diverse, and so because people sit down and think about these things, and of course St. Kitts Nevis, we are not sheltered from that. The small islands are not sheltered from that, and so we have to just be more cautious of our personal information. When you're receiving such text on your phone that you win or you are entitled to, or things like that, you got to be very mindful that it's a possibility. If it sounds too good to be true, then check it out. And so I think the banks are doing what they can to really prevent and to protect people's funds in a big way, and sometimes it's quite uncomfortable for customers, especially if you have an account where you have a card and you're probably traveling, and you probably just need to ask the bank and tell the bank your business. Look, I'm going to be traveling, so just open up that account for me. And maybe they open it, and maybe they open it at the wrong time too. At the same time, when the fishermen them fishing and they get into into your account, and so it's almost like a tightrope in these days. Not so tight, but it's happening. It's almost a new kind of crime as we advance in new technology and so forth. I mean, you spoke towards the you spoke about the car thefts in St. Kitts or Nevis, and that's happening. You spoke towards that there's that technology that can probably suppress or prevent an alarm from going off, and so it's based on advanced technology, and the smart people them along with their smartphone become so smart that they can create havoc in the society, but I don't think it's Nevis or these little islands. We're going to steal a car and go with it anyway, you know what I mean? But at the same time, we see in the so many times they have drive-up shooting here, and nobody know who car they use, which car they use. There never seems to be known. I mean, drive-up shooting, incredible drive-up shooting. People use a car, but which car is that? What's the color of the car? The number plate? No one knows. And so the killer, is also, set free. No one knows. And so it's a level of harmfulness, a new type. It looks like that's coming on. Always evolving. The criminals seems to be one step ahead, or following very closely behind. But they always seems to penetrate the defenses sometimes, and so we just got to be. It's a festive season right now. A very festive season is coming up. We got the St. Kitts Music Festival. We got the Mango Festival coming up. We got White Sand coming up. We got Culturama just around the bend. And so you could expect a lot of people who wants to have some cash to spend. Want to get that by any means necessary. They don't want to work. And so they will stealing would be increased and things like that. So I think throughout these time coming up going forward, sooner or later, we got to be mindful that things can be happening, and be very careful in applying yourself and applying your possession, your handbags, your keys, your personal information, and secure your property at home, because everybody know you're going to St. Kitts. Everybody know you're going to the Queen Show. You know what I mean? And so I'm not saying that our islands are infested by such people, because it's not really. I think St. Kitts Nevis people are generally good people, and I don't think the level of desperation exists here. That's what exists in the much bigger islands in the Caribbean, and so but we still got to be very mindful. Some people are saying things hard. Some people don't want to work. Some people don't want to work. Some people want to earn and live a big life, but they don't want to work. And so that's a problem. That's a problem. And sometimes I say, if I knew any ways that I could have survived without working, I probably would think about it, because even in the stealing and all that, to me, it's harder work than going to do an 9 to 5. You can easily lose your life, right?
Yes.
And you hurt so many people in the process, and so forth, and so nature won't be won't be good to you, and so it's such things that's taking place, you know.
Yes. Now, to do with the scamming too, you know, these scammers are getting really creative, and they're stirring us. You know, they are finding creative ways, and one such way that they have found is to send packages to you, to your address. You know, who don't want something that is free? You know, they would send whether it's a perfume, whether it's a phone, whatever it is, they would just send it to you, and they would ask you to. They would have a barcode in the package, and they would ask you to scan that barcode. And having scanned that barcode, you know, you would have just given up all of your information basically off of your phone. So we have to, you know, they are trying to be a step ahead of us, but we have to also, you know, try our endeavor best to be a step ahead of them too. Otherwise, you know, we will just lose what we have. In terms of social media, you know, Naya, what is really trending is TikTok. And if you would have realized over the past several weeks to maybe a few months, 2 months, 3 months, a lot of these TikTok personnel, they were gone down right on the spot. You know, they go live, and for some reason, whether it's hatred or otherwise, you know, they're basically, by going live and without camouflaging your background, you know, these haters, they know exactly where you are, and they go. That happened. I think that happened in Jamaica. That happened where a couple other places. You know, I believe in the US too, but I know in Jamaica for sure. You know, that happened. So, you know, I want to appeal, you know, to, you know, the especially the young population, you know, who go on TikTok and social media and stuff like that. You know, you may want to come across a certain way, but maybe it's best to maybe camouflage where you are, so persons cannot, you know, reach you that easily. You know, another thing too, I think you kind of hinted at it too, Naya. Sometimes we are going to maybe a show, a Queen show, Calypso show, maybe some social event, and we want the world to know that we are at that event, when we are leaving, how long we are out, and these people, they are following us. They are following us on the same social media that you are voluntarily giving out your information. And what they do, they smile, they laugh, they say yes, and then they go to your home, to your homes, and they basically raid your home. So we have to be mindful of that. Yes, we want our friends to see us and see us, you know, having fun and frolic, but we have to understand that there's a downside to it. There's a security side to it. And what we basically are doing is to give them the security code, so to speak, by letting them know that we are not home. We are going to be out for a day, for the whole day. We're going to go to St. Kitts, or we're going to go to Nevis, and, you know, we're going to maybe go to a hotel or what have you, or whatever activity. And then they know. Sometimes these persons, they are looking at us. They are looking at us for months, maybe even years, you know, until they find that particular time that they see fit, so they could attack. So we have to be really mindful about that. So I just want to, you know, give that appeal to us all, and as I said, especially the younger ones. They come up in the technological era, unlike some of us, you know, the older ones. And, you know, we're not blaming them for the era that they came up in, but what we are saying is that we have to be more prudent you have to wise up, and think about what could happen if you give out, such information. Now, I drove into town today, and I don't know if it is me, but I couldn't get a parking spot now. I know we would have spoke about this before in the past, but it just appears to me that all the parking spots are gone. I really don't know. I don't know if you would have recognized that, Naya.
It's difficult to find parking in Charlestown. I don't think that's unusual about most towns, really. The question is whether or not we have too much yellow lines on the sidewalk. I would say no, and I would encourage people to park on the outskirts of town. It's extended, almost a little way into Ramsbury up Marion Avenue area, but beyond Miss Cross School, you can park anyway up there, But everybody wants to get so close into a little town that takes 5 minutes to walk across. Takes 5 minutes to walk across, and everybody wants to get so close. Parking is not really a problem if you live in the city in different places. It's not really a problem in Charlestown. I think we have certain, I would say, shortcomings in Charlestown. Maybe in some way we can look at like a bus stop, a bus station that can alleviate the fluency of the traffic sometimes. But we don't even have much traffic really. But in certain junction, like where the buses have to just pull up, because the buses pull up in the street, regardless of what, right there next to the Chinese, right to the, and then the other bus gathering is also in the street. I wonder really and truly if we are lacking some kind of a vision or almost innovation about our little town. Our little town was given to us by some white man that enslaved us, and it's up to us really to shape and develop our town to our likings and likeness, because sometimes we think just, okay, that's the town. The town's been there from since 1640 or something like that, and we simply accept that that's the town. And I believe we got to see the town as the town that we inherited, and think about something new, because even with that town, Charlestown, or even Bastia, mostly Charlestown is really small, really small. And if we are to get any kind of recognition from wherever, we probably will have to. I mean, it's a beautiful little town, I must say, or it can be a very beautiful little town. I imagine sometimes tourists walking through Talktown and saying, wow, what a beautiful little town. But I truly don't think they say that, because I think we are taking our town for granted. It's almost like the face to a body, and people enters into the town. And I've seen small towns, I've been to small towns, and it's impacting in terms of its beauty. People decorate the town, I truly doesn't see it happening in our little town. And the towns are so small and so easily it's quite easy to be decorated, to be quite honest. I think we have sufficient artisans here, sufficient welders, people who can make lanterns and so forth, and make a nice little town. But it looks like hands off when it comes to the town. We can't decorate the town. You understand? It looks like, the town must not be touched, so we can't touch the stones and so forth because they have the Historical and Conservation Society. And if we look in some kind of international acclamation, we can, which is okay. Well, let's think of something new. Let's reclaim some bit of land and have a more, say, commercial town, where maybe tourists can have a place and things like that. I truly don't think lots of ideas have been channeled into the beautification and the upliftment of Charlestown. We know it for so long, and it's so small that we can really make it a beautiful little town. But I don't think we've been on about that at all, really. The Bayfront is beautiful. I've heard such comments, on driving along Hawkins Drive. I mean, that's beautiful. Because when one stops to think about, say, a bus station, where in Charleston can that fit in? A bus station for those people that head eastwards up to Gingerland area. Where in Charleston can that fit in? And when you stop to think about the bus station that heads northwards, where in Charleston can that fit in? So we don't have a bus station. Never, ever. I can't accept that. You understand?
Not to interrupt you, but, interestingly, I had a conversation with someone earlier today, and the topic of a bus station or a parking area in Charlestown came up. And what came up during that conversation is that the old customs warehouse in the heart of Charlestown would have ceased operation, might have been sometime back in 1999.
20 years ago.
Yeah, thereabout, not certain. Subjected to correction here. And really is just being there. So maybe what can be done, as came out in the conversation, is if you want to probably put it into maybe a parking area. You have it nicely designed, and you can go up where you have different levels, just like when you go to maybe Puerto Rico and into the US. You have these parking areas that they have. Well, we don't have any underground here, but instead of going underground, you go up maybe 3-4 levels, and you would find that almost certain if you were to do that and it's properly designed, you might be able to have 50 to maybe 70 vehicles,
100 vehicles,
right, to park there, and that I think would help significantly. You spoke also about
you're paying.
Of course.
Well,
of course, you have to be able to get back your money, so to speak. You pay some parking fee. You would probably have different rates. Maybe a parking for an hour at X rate. A parking for 5 hours. Maybe a day pass. Maybe if I don't know if they would probably allow long-term parking. Maybe long-term parking you would make as much money as because you wouldn't be able to apply the hourly rate or the daily rate in terms of long-term parking, maybe a week, 2 weeks or something like that. But these are things that the authorities probably need to look into. Our government probably need to look into. We have to be forward thinkers. You also spoke about the reclaiming of land.
yeah.
You might be a bit older than I am, so you could probably help me out here. But where the Samuel Honkin Drive is currently, I believe
That's land reclamation.
right, that was actually C. Because what I can recall coming, where the houses are just going across the street, the seawater used to basically
Yeah.
come up and almost into the people's houses, that I can recall. Now, I am saying, so we know at least the art, so to speak, how to go about reclaiming land. So, can we look seriously into reclaiming maybe a 30, 40 acres of land?
Certainly we can.
And if we can do that, we can have, a more holistic view of Charlestown, how we really visualize Charlestown, 40 years or 50 years on, and we build, with the future in mind, futuristic, instead of maybe looking at now for now. How can we aid our grandchildren, the next generation to come? So when their turn, when they are our age, when they are adults, they can now look at and continue to build upon that foundation, so to speak. I think that, as I said earlier, we have to look at innovative ways, because we are small. But when we look at places like the British Virgin Islands, Statola, you look at their capital, how much land, the reclamation of land, and that would have done maybe the 70s or the 80s.
It's still to be done. It's still to be
And
done. And we got rock scan done. I mean, when I go the other day, take a look at the sea bridge over there, where the sea bridge. And there's grass going to the end of it, and I said, well, look at that. Why can't we just, push some stone and because the idea of a Charlestown fit in modern day demands and functionality is you're definitely not going to find it in Charlestown, because I mean, we talk about parking, we talk about high-rise parking and so forth. That's I can't think of any island small like Nevis that and quite regional that have such things, such parking.
So we can be trendsetters.
We can be trendsetters, yes. But I believe that to have a more expanding and functional town where we can basically build it according to our likings, because Charlestown as it is beautiful, and I've said that before. There are certain little things that I wonder sometimes if the government don't forget Charlestown. Like, for instance, I must say this: the Sport Museum still got the sign down there, but the door is dropping off because it's not there. It's been moved to Solomon Arcade. Well, take the sign down. So when the tourists go, Sport Museum, let's go inside here. Nothing in there. I take a little walk up Chapel Street. Charlestown Health Center, still written big and broad right there. It's covered in bush and going through a period of decadence, and you wonder who's looking after this little town. This town is something else, and I'm just saying, pointing out those two little things. But in terms of an enthusiasm, exists, around Charlestown, and sometimes everybody wants to have a special committee for this, a special committee for that, a special committee. Look, to me, Charlestown has been forgotten. I've been to small towns, man, I've seen the art, the reflection of the artisans of the place, written all over small towns, beautiful towns. You go in there and you say, wow, you understand, but I feel like if we stop to think, we look at Hawkins Drive and say we go down further down by West Haven down there, so To me, that exists. That seems to have a lot of potential there. I know government seems to be having a problem down there. Some land that was purchased by the NRP government, and why not? It's the people's land. It's time to get over that. Move forward. Move forward instead of not honoring the debt. It's almost folly to me. You know what I mean? And that's a perfect area where we can do something in terms of land reclamation, and probably address the circumstance of the bigger tourist ship. And we cannot stay as we are.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for holding.
Yeah, good evening to the listening public. Good evening to the guys
Good evening.
in the studio.
Amen.
I hear listening, Mr. So good. Like we hear some of the things them. But who can create this development? Now them boys are who we got to lead this country, Them not got no interest in no development, Them man interest is in profit. So until them boys they leave, you're not gonna get them kind of development. Good night.
Good night.
Well, it's about we're tabling ideas. I think ideas can come from east, west, north, south, everyone. You know what I'm saying? And create what it takes, really. If it's a stronger revenue base or whatever. But of course, we can imagine and we can have vision of reality. We are talking about Charlestown and. Beautiful little town, and I wish they can be. I'm not saying maybe in people's mind they are, but as an observer, sometime I believe a lot more thoughts can be put into the beautification of our little town, because it's so small, and I constantly say that I've been to small towns, and it's impacting sometimes, it's impacting.
Now, I wanted to ask the land just before you meet Haven. I understand that it might have been some burial ground,
Yeah.
some years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But what really happened to that land in terms of, could it be developed?
Well, there's a burial ground that's sacred, and you can't touch it. It's not the norm that you dig up a burial ground to talk about the development in a burial ground. Doesn't matter how old it seems sometimes, But it's a great question,
But Naya, I know where I'm from, the Gingerland area, the Zion area, down where the new project is. I want to believe that I would have heard stories before that there was a burial ground down there many years ago.
a slave burial ground.
I'm not sure, but I'm just saying a burial ground.
Right.
So when how many years would have to pass before a burial ground could have renewed life, so to speak?
Oh, that's a
because
very good question.
when we look at it, that same piece of land that I spoke to just before you met Amherst Haven, people are utilizing it. As a matter of fact, there are some gazebos, I think, that are in there that people go and eat their lunch. There are persons who go, who drive, park there and have lunch, maybe just relax. I too would have parked there and have some lunch from time to time. So the point I'm trying to bring is that if it's not supposed to be used, then why it's still being utilized? And if it is being utilized, why can't we fix it up in a manner that is more appealing and more attractive?
Well, good thought. Because, but I would say about the Bering Gull that you thought once exists way down in close to your area in Zion, the bottom of Zion. Obviously, that was a slave burial ground. It was a well-known functional plantation down on New River.
Let me get this. Good evening. Thank you. Okay, I'm very sorry. Caller, please call back. Naya, New River.
Yeah, down at New River, and they were obviously slave burial ground. Now, who cares about slaves? Slave wasn't people. Slave was objects. So and owned by the white plantation owner. In fact, I was told that they were burial ground in the general area where I live, in Pinnies, in those areas down there. And when I go through those areas, you find a lot of stone walls, a lot of it. You can see, I understand that was a slave village.
While you gentlemen are trying to find spaces for development, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Are you aware that the Pinnies area, including where the Social Security building is designed for the expansion of Charlestown? You're not aware of that?
No, I'm not fully aware of that.
Yeah, well, that is what that is for. Right? That whole area there. And that wasn't done so long ago. They could have used the whole area. And do you know on the other side, where the lands are tied up with Newfound and all those stuff and stuff like that, the same area, Roger, that you had suggested, part of the area that they have this parking and this shuttle service for culture and fish. You remember that?
Yes.
All those lands. That's what all that is for? You're not aware of it?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's for. Let me take this. Good evening. Caller, please try again. So, it's just another suggestion other than the burial ground that you're talking and worrying about. You don't have to take up the burial ground, right? These things are available for the expansion and stuff like that. So I just thought I'll, point that out.
Well, you see, I think it starts with us as individuals and our mindset. How do we look at things? How do we view things? We are set in our ways, and sometimes it is very difficult to break habits. I'm saying this, Webbo, because I can recall years ago that there was a branch of the Bank of Nevis situated in Gingerland Market Shop. And from what I understand is that it was situated in Gingerland because at that time, at least, a number or the percentage of Gingerlanders that was doing business with the bank was great. And then what happened, based on my understanding, is that instead of us Gingerlanders go to that particular bank, we say, we want to catch a bus or drive and go to Charlestown, and we do not support or do business with that particular branch. And then from my understanding, it was forced to close. I'm saying all this to say, Webbo, you would have spoken about the lands at Pinnies that is geared towards development, expanding the town. And it has started, in a sense. We have certain government offices right down there in the Social Security building. We have TDC down there and certain other business places, the
Classical Metalworks.
Right, and the craft house and stuff like that. But it appears as if still, persons, even new investors, they just have this mindset, in my opinion, that, hey, let us crumble, let us, for want of a better term, kump up in Charlestown. Why can't, if we spread out, then we would give rise to other small businesses Once we spread out, then some little shop would pop up to sell, juice. Well, I almost say juicy, but some sort of juice, some sort of snack, or what have you. Then you could find two, Webbo, if that were to happen. Some small entrepreneur could have some bus or some transportation service to take persons, on short drop-offs, maybe every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, as the case may be. Because if that service is being provided, then persons may not want to maybe drive their vehicle. They come into town, they have a parking space, they park already. Let's just say on the bayfront, for argument's sake. And they know they're going to be in town maybe for a 2 or 3 hour period. They may not want to move, because if they move, they would lose the space, so to speak. So, once this, I believe it could catch on. It could catch on. We have to be innovative, as I said. We have to be forward thinkers. We once something would spark off to create other businesses. When we even look at the St. Pinney's area, we look and we see two vendors, jelly vendors, basically along that same route. So it, and people would drive, not those who coming from Newcastle side only into Charlestown, but persons coming from Gingerland who have business to do in town, sometimes just pass Charlestown, go to these vendors just to have jelly. So I am saying, it's work in progress, but the question is, are we progressing?
When I was much younger and I was offered that land as a kind of commercial base for myself, and other land in the Prospect area as an industrial base, and I went for the commercial base. But it's all a part and parcel of the whole economic growth and that great successful thrust towards entrepreneurship. I think not knowing to a lot of people their policies and way of thinking kind of suppresses that. I could remember in my area, I wanted to do something like a little snack it and so forth, and boy, I had to bring it here on One Radio, man. Just couldn't make it happen. The people in them say no. Down there is an industrial place and they shouldn't have, snack it or a little restaurant down there, and I had to make a row about it, and so these kind of things really suppress people's initiative, Of course, we want to see more things, the social security building, and what I realized there's a lot of privately owned lands all around there. If I'm not mistaken, I think Niblek has a massive piece where I suppose they intend to build their business there. But also left of the bypass road, left, coming from, say, down by Pinney's Beach area, left of the bypass road is it's Newfoundland. All that land there go way up to the mountain slope. It's owned by some. It was sold to a company called Newfoundland, so we won't see much happening there unless they themselves decide to do something or have something going on that's kind of out of the reach of the people and sometimes out of the reach of the government, it looks like. But I think within the on the right-hand side of the bypass road, there's a lot of private lands and so forth. You know, about the Nevis Bank that was in Gingerland. I think back in those days, there was such a flush towards getting the people aware and having access to the bank, so they take the bank to the people, you know. But it worked for a while, but sometimes I believe the cost of having it there was probably outweighing the benefit, in a sense. And Nevis is so small, you know. And of course, when you go to the bank, you don't just go to the bank to go back home. You go to the bank maybe to get money and to come back and to access other services, probably around town here and there. So, you know, a bank within the town will be more functional as it relates to, you know, providing that service and accessibility to people, you know. But I still must say that the idea of land reclamation, because I really don't see at this point the area down at Pinnies, the area around the Social Security building becoming much more of a town feel, of an extension of the town, you know. I think Ramsbury was meant to be also an extension of the town, and then the idea shifted to Pinnies, you know. But I still feel that land reclamation would be, you know, I mean, things are becoming more spread off, and I see government is trying to have, you know, like the clinic is on the main street, and then there's, I think, social services now is on Pump Road, you know. I can understand all that, but the question is, do we need a bus stop? Do we need a bus station? Do you think we need a bus station, sir?
I mean, I would say yes. What would happen, you know, if it would alleviate the congestion, I think, in Charlestown, if we get a bus stop, especially if it is not placed in the heart of Charlestown. You know,
would you describe Charlestown as congested?
Yes. I mean, it's relative. You know, when we look at big cities like, you know, maybe Manhattan, and we see...
We don't have to look at no Manhattan.
No, what I'm saying, in terms of congestion, then when you look at that and you compare that to Nevis, you will say Nevis is not congested. But when we look at it in context, then I would say that, yes, Charlestown is
look at it
congested.
in relation to a relativity towards like islands like Antigua, or even St. Martin, small islands, St. Thomas, small island. Because I go to places, man, you know, and the town, 8 o'clock at night, this town's still bustling because people are selling things on the sidewalk, and
Right.
that is one thing I keep complaining about it, you know, and I'm gonna complain until whenever, you understand? The town need life. The town need vibrancy. The town need colors. Let the vendors be. Okay? Let them be. You understand? Because when we look at agriculture, you know, the best thing for a farmer is for him to sell his own product, you know. Because he wouldn't have to accept...
Cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman. He wouldn't have to accept that little bit of amount of money so that, and sell his product to the ton hand so the ton hand can send it to. And that's what I find in many countries that I've visited, you know, Caribbean country. Come on, man. The farmers bring the thing in town to sell. They bring the things and let prices and supply and demand exist. You know, so who don't want to go down to the market can fetch their things on the sidewalk. Nevis is not congested. I hear them say they want... You can't get in the way of people walking, so they don't want no vendors in town. Look now, only one vendor in town. You know, a guy complained to me the other day and tell me, They said they don't want no vendors in town, and now only Guyanese vendors in town. I said, so what's wrong with that? You know what I mean? You see, only Guyanese, and now nobody has said nothing about that. It was foolish, in a sense, to me, because they are vendors. They're using up the time that the government allot them, Tuesdays and Fridays, you know, which is far insufficient to exist. You know, there used to be more vendors, and the town had more of a buzz, you know, but now it's suppressing commerce, even agriculture. It's impacting negatively on agriculture, because people should be allowed to function, to live. You know, I mean, all on the sidewalk in Barbados and Jamaica, and 8 o'clock in the night, people still selling their yams and so forth. It's happening.
Well, I believe, you know, over time, because
Over time.
when I say over time, I mean in terms of that type of buzz. What I realize, and I said
But the
to
country
my,
had the buzz before, you know.
but
Sorry to
not
cut you
that
off.
type that I'm
Nevis had the buzz
imagining.
before, you know. Do you know Nevis had a buzz before? I know I'm a little older than you. Okay. But you ever see Charleston Pier with that buzz of exporting things?
Yeah.
From animals to large amounts of food and this and that, going down to St. Kitts, going to St. Man, Stacia, Sabre. Where is all that? Where it's gone? Where it's gone? And it makes me wonder if we move forward or we're moving backward.
But it's a good question now.
Makes me wonder.
But then we have to ask ourselves, so, you know, back then, believe it or not, it was young persons, you know, who were farming. And it may sound a little difficult to digest when I say young persons were farming. But back then, you know, farming was the thing. We didn't have the Four Seasons, we didn't have the other hotels, you know, the bigger hotels.
Yeah, but
so we everybody basically was farming. Now the society has become more diverse. You find that after the introduction of Four Seasons, a lot of persons, you know, would have gone to the hotel industry. We have more tourists coming in. We have more taxi drivers. We have probably more of everything, with the exception of probably farmers. You know, even back then, to the era that you spoke of, you know, a lot of charcoals you used to be transported to St. Kitts too. Now I understand that coal, we are now importing coal from St. Kitts, so to speak. You know.
So why?
Well, that is what I'm saying.
Hotels down there, and,
it is the
and
mindset.
more taxi people and taxi people in government more money down there. And so what's going on?
It is the mindset, Naya. You know, how we think, how.
Can you imagine that?
You know, if we look at it, Naya, I believe in eating what you grow. I believe, you know, it's more organic. You live, you eat healthier. You live a more healthy life. Okay, so I am, and of course, your expenditure will reduce, you know, drastically. So I believe in farming, but the question is, you know, can we get our young people more interested in farming? Can we provide the lands? Can we provide the necessary irrigation system to support rise to a bountiful farm? You know, what resources can, I know in the past.
Let me just take this. Good evening, thank you for holding.
Yeah, good evening again. Well, the panelists talk about farming, and that is good. I wonder if they know how much it costs to do farming. Kind of cheap to do farming, you know. And the boy them who we got there, who we put in charge, right? Now help nobody, you know. They not help the farmers them. So while we talk about farming, which is good, it costs you to do farming. You know how much water bill? You know how much you go pay water to do farming? Good night.
Good night. Maybe I just wanted to say earlier, when you were making the point about the Super Saturday, so that we don't run out of time. I didn't want to interrupt because you guys had some interesting topics. But you know what is interesting about the Super Saturday? People like you and a lot of other people keep talking about it. It's amazing that Super Saturday was held only about 3 times.
What?
I was just telling Melissa here, only about 3 times. And so what is fascinating about it, therefore, is the impact.
Wow. 3 times.
About 3 times.
Wow.
Because people keep talking and talking and talking, and it's just fascinating. About 3 times. I'm subject to correction, but that's as what I can remember.
Wow.
And I was further saying, Super Saturday is like the Herbert Beach Affair. The impact that it has. Sometimes when you check yourself, you probably only went about 3 or 4 times, but it happened 20-something times. But that 3 or 4 times stayed with you with such an impact. So yeah, so Super Saturday, as far as I can recall, we did only about maybe 3 or 4 times. But everybody keep talking about it every year and keep asking for it. So by way of information, Roger, I just want to... Well, if anybody knows different, they can let me know, but that's as far as I can.
I guess we want to relive the memories, huh?
Yeah, well, it's good, in terms of the impact. But I think that's...
And what years was that? 'Cause the
um,
time I would never used to walk out.
Yeah, you used to walk out. You probably were there, but you didn't know. It probably maybe the second year, or maybe the first year, and then the second year, and then maybe the 5th year. Because I know that we had taken a break after about 2, because that thing was intense. And if we can't do something properly, we're not doing it. But it was it's real intense. And then I think after we had taken the break and we decided, okay, for the 5th. And then we came back again, with the intensity. And then we I don't think we did it since. But we still talk about it. People still talk about it. And even people who didn't witness it talk about it because they heard about it, The first one, it was just plain Super Saturday. And the second one was the madness of Super Saturday. Because when we did it first, they say it couldn't be done. And I think, no, first they said it couldn't be done. Right? And then when we did it, they said we got to be crazy. So we just said, okay, this is madness of Super Saturday. Something to that effect. Yeah, but it was intense. It's intense. Maybe if you get us, Chartless has a song, Too Much Quacks and Invalid, is the name of the song. Part of the lyrics said, if they get me vexed, I call the name, the bloody name, Jim. So, get us vexed enough and then we'll do Super Saturday again. But I just want to mention that, Roger. Yeah. Well, maybe now we have Roger. Roger is a good organizer and stuff. Maybe we do it like we did the Legend show. Roger was a big part of it. So maybe we do it again. So I just wanted to mention that. So back to where you were.
Yes. Just before we go back, Webbo, you indicated that it was just about 3 times, and it must have really have that impact to really stay with me all these years. I really thought that it was about 10 or 15 times. You know, and you know, it's you know, maybe it's not the number of times that it was held, but you know, the impact, you know, of the times that, you know, it was held, that, you know, lives on with me, and you know, bring that, you know, eagerness and fond memory, you know. So you know,
I remember. Anybody remember Mrs. Andre, who used to be the head teacher at the high school?
Yes.
You remember she had a store, a shop across from right there by the bridge,
Yeah. In town.
by the octagon.
Yeah.
Right. And she used to sell cloth and clothes and stuff like that. And I remember she accosted me one day. He said, "Herbert, come here. That's how she used to. And she said, this Super Saturday thing, I don't know what it is, but people are complaining that you're not going to be having it. And I sell a lot of things at times, so get yourself organized, have the thing." So it used to be one of those things that generate things in the economy,
Yeah,
because
man.
people want a new outfit for that. And don't talk about the Kiddishans. They used to really come over and support it and stuff like that, and so on and so forth. But like I said, that's how we roll. You know, when we're doing something, we do it with
Properly.
with that kind of
I don't
impact.
do it at all. I like that. Like when standards become a part of it. Well, I suppose.
But now you know that even when we do the show,
Yeah.
if we can't do it properly, we're not doing it.
Yeah, you couldn't beat that. The promotion of that types of show that you work on Fifield was, I mean, you know, the show itself, you know, had certain things going on with it, but in terms of the promotion, I mean, you just couldn't beat it. You really brought the people out in a big way, you know. And I like when people endorse standards, not just two things in because you feel like, oh, the year has come around again and you just want to have it. But to maintain that standard is very important to me.
Yes.
Really, it's very important. Sometimes we slip up, you know. And as I say, Webbo, it brought good for the economy, and I wish we could have more of that type of stuff happening, to be quite honest.
Yeah, basically people have to have that sort of understanding, right? And especially if you're in certain arenas and positions, you got to understand the big picture, right? And, you know, I see people do things. And sometimes I blame the other people in certain authority positions, because people do things to block things and in a spiteful way, not understanding the overall good and impact to the overall thing. And so people, when you're in a certain position of certain authority, you must look at those things and be concerned about the greater good.
Greater good.
Otherwise, we'll always be complaining that all the places like this and this and that. Those, in some instances, are some of the reasons why all we do is complain.
Yes, let the people live, man.
When we were doing that show last year, and we said earlier that we weren't going to do it again, but we were encouraging others to take it up and do it for the greater good, right?
Yeah.
But what happens sometimes, from the time certain people, and you'll be surprised, I get me vexed, I call the name. You'll be surprised who show up to undermine it, to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, I feel you.
These things,
Working
it
with you,
happens.
It happens. Do you think we have it more than any other islands?
Well, the Desiderata, you want me to read it for you tomorrow? In part says, if you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter. So if you always worry about other people, let's worry about us and who we are. And if what we are doing is not advancing us, don't worry about whether other people are doing it. If you know that what you're doing can improve, is that bringing us what we want, let's concentrate on that.
Webbo, if I may,
That's a question.
if I may, Webbo, I just want to shout out Mrs. Library in Canada. I met her on the phone some weeks ago, and she asked me if I know her, and I said I don't think so. What she said, well, I know you. I just listened to you, and she said, you remember when you had that show? When you all had that show? You remember a lady came out and you asked how you enjoyed the show, and you asked for feedback. And I know, Webbo, that after the completion of the show that night, I asked many persons down for feedback, but I couldn't remember her specifically until she went into details and stuff like that. You know, so, you know, I want to give her a shout out, you know, right over there in Canada. She said to me that she listened every Tuesday night, so I'm sure she's listening right now, Webbo. And yes, and she told me again on the phone that she really enjoyed the show.
You know, now you think it's time for a light moment.
Yeah.
I find, you know, Roger, that I'm building a kind of profile of you that I find, you know, when I when I read the scroll, it's gonna have a good read, because added to what you just say, you remember I had to get Naya to confirm some text you were getting. So, I put that alongside that kind of. Anyway, but that's good. We appreciate. So, Roger, if you have any contacts or anything, see if you can get them to do the show for this year, because Bingy and Chevy and Zumba and Bahawla and Flamingo and all them fellas are ready. So please, if somebody, you know, can, and those guys are the heartbeat, right? Them young fellas, with all due respect, them fellas can reach certain heights. You know, what they call it, an octave, when a singer can go from, they can some, and them older fellas. Okay, so you can go back to where you were.
Well, I'm not sure if we
I took you off.
whatever. You know.
Whatever, if you got something else new.
But there's something that I probably want to you know, just maybe mention, so to speak.
Oh, I made a note here. I'll let you mention it, but I made a note here, Naya, because you probably sometimes can be a rookie in comparison to Ted and Edric and stuff like that. When you said that someone is going to call you, I wrote a note here to ask you if you believe them. Yeah, go ahead.
Halfway up. Just maybe.
Maybe. Okay. I look. You see, I wrote the note. Yeah.
I mean, we discussed him before a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been around a while, sir.
And he said he would have called.
I've been around a while, sir.
Okay.
The program isn't finished as yet.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, you know, the decisions that the U.S. government, President Trump and the U.S. government is, you know, making, I think that it is impacting us right here in Little Nevis and St. Kitts. For example, they would have suspended or put a hold on, interviews.
Let me get this. This might be Naya's call. Good evening. Thank you for holding.
Good evening, Webbo. This is Joseph. How are you doing?
Yeah, this is Talk that get results.
I'm here listening to your show, and I just wanted to let Naya know that don't ever let somebody fool you with that. Tell you what they're going to call you. Because it not happen, nothing news, Anytime somebody tell you, oh, you're going to hear from me, I'm going to call you back, or, that don't happen. I called in on this show some weeks ago, and you, Webbo, remember you raised a subject, and we went through it, we spoke to a couple of people, and I said, oh, Mr. Joseph, we're going to get back to you. And not a word. So, let me not run over the idea that when somebody said they're going to call back, in other words, they're telling you, shut up, I don't want to hear you. No, because they're not going to happen, you ain't going to call you back. That don't happen in news. When somebody call me back, I'm surprised. I'm more surprised than anything else. So let me work with that. As you say, work with me.
I'm working with you. Yeah, but that not everybody, Because when I say I would,
not everybody. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, not everybody. I was just saying not everybody does that.
Right. I never been good. You've never been good enough for me to get a call back. People keep saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to call you back. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that." You raise a subject. We will see. We was on the radio there sometime back, and we talked about. And a couple of people say, "Oh, they're going to call you back," and no one called back. It doesn't happen. It's just it's just a culture here in. I don't know if it's here in Nevis or if it's just a culture in our diaspora that people just don't follow up and they tell you a call back. In other words, they're telling you hush your mouth. Okay?
Because if you hush up Naya, because he's not responding. And the gentleman addressed you, Naya.
Yeah, the gentleman addressed me, but I think he have furnished his promise. He has called.
Oh, really?
He has called.
Oh. So talk that get results.
Well, yes. You have called.
Okay.
That's the gentleman that say he would have called. So, I'm a bit lost.
You're lost?
A bit, yes.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Fifey.
Yes. Thanks. I was saying, Webbo, that the decisions that the U.S. government, one of the decisions that they would have taken is to suspend all interviews for students, who are looking student visas, international student visas.
Yeah.
And yes, and it has impacted persons right in St. Kitts Nevis. We have persons who, here in St. Kitts Nevis, who would have already been accepted, basically, in schools in the U.S., and who would have had their appointment date, and, now, it is suspended, and, some of these persons would have already made arrangements with these prospective universities and colleges, and now some have to resort now to online learning, have to do a different reshuffling and scheduling because of the impact, which I dare say it's a negative impact. Persons want to go within the walls. Persons, it's not that I'm saying that persons who do their learning online, is at some a disadvantage, maybe a little, but to me, when you're within the walls, it is different. You get to meet people of various backgrounds, various cultures. You get to do networking. You get to actually see a different place, a different environment. You learn to cope in a different environment and stuff like that. And all that, in my opinion, is a part of the learning curve. So, that has happened. They would have also banned, I think, citizens from 12 different countries from coming into the U.S. Well, apart from those who have passport already and stuff like that, and apart from the children that are adopted by U.S. citizens and stuff like that. And so it's have far-reaching, complications, so to speak. Even FIFA, the governing body for world football, is considering seriously of pulling out of the World Cup 2026 out of the US because of these sanctions on these many countries and stuff. It is reported that players and fans alike do not feel safe. They do not feel safe. I think where was it? I think it might have been on the weekend. Today's Tuesday. It might have been on the weekend or Friday, late last week. They had a ceremony in the US, and a high school had their ceremony, and ICE just went in and they basically interrupted the ceremony. They took persons from the ceremony, the ceremony, parents, etc., and children were wailing and crying and stuff like that. Other persons and teachers would have had to console them. So we live in a kind of time now that when we look at the U.S. and we look back maybe 20 years and beyond that, persons were gravitating towards the U.S. and wanting to go to the U.S. But now I am not certain that so many of us want to gravitate and want to go to the U.S. anymore. I mean, of course, there would be some that still want to go, but realistically, and when I say go, I do not mean go to visit, but go to live, to make a livelihood. How many of us want to do that? In bearing in mind what is happening. One guy in Florida earlier this year, it was on the local news in Florida, went to carry his garbage, and he was nabbed. And the long and the short of it, he was nabbed, but he had his documentation, but he wasn't allowed, to go and get them to present them. So I think we're living in some serious times, and we all have to probably start to look at different avenues.
Different avenues will be looked at. The world is changing. All these sanctions and trade wars have turned, allies across the board, across the world. New allies have been making, and China have found different ways and routes to get their goods out. There's great alliances between China and Central and South America today, and so it's an upheaval which I think would iron out, and the only loser, well, not the only loser, but the biggest loser would be America. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening, because one would have thought that Trump would like every student to be trained in America and got that kind of Americanization. And today it looks like, because of his very small-mindedness, simply because all this thing came from some students on campus involving protesting and demonstration, and they are pro-Palestinian. I think that's where a lot of it comes from, or that is, what can I say, a springboard, because obviously it's within him to really make America pure white again. It looks like,
Great, thank
you
you.
know, and with a kind of philosophy which is totally American orientated, and everything America, it looks like. But to me, the biggest loser is going to be America today, because a lot of trading partners, new partners have been established, partnership throughout Canada, Central and South America, Europe. Even the king was in Canada, and he implies that Canada ain't gonna be no 51 state, you know what I mean? Because Canada is a part of the Commonwealth, and I think he kind of in an indirect way really, shows some kind of rebuff towards what Trump is intending to do, or that kind of foolish idea they have by making Canada the 52nd state or 51st state, whatever. But I think it's laughable. It's really, for students who have already been accepted and who probably have loans have been furnished for them and so forth. It's not easy to stand in the way of youths who are trying to seek an education and who is excited about it, really, for them to have to miss their introduction and appointments and so forth because of what? There's a new president in America, and he feels like every student is going to be a part of a demonstration that is pro-Palestinian. Really small-mindedness. And I think really he has 4 or 3 more years, and he looks like he wants to stir up things to that extent that he will never be forgotten.
And you say you're going to be running
because
in
nothing
2028?
to me what he's on about is going to live. It's going to go on beyond his reign as the president of America, and so not good at all. I mean, the tourism in America has gone way down, the worst it has ever been, really. And you find tourism in other countries, in Spain, in Peru, and these places are soaring. And so I mean, what's going on in California today? You have brought out the heavy-handed weapons and personnel to suppress.
Naya, let me just take this. Good evening. Thank you for holding. Good evening. You're on the air. Good evening. You're on the air. Okay, Naya, the person is not connecting. Go ahead.
Seriously, going through a bad point, with Donald Trump. I mean, to be quite honest with you, during the elections and so forth. But I cannot have imagined that he would have been so adverse in his ways. I mean, Webbo always said, "The man tell you who he is, you gotta believe him," But really stir things upside down, and total innocent people has been affected in such ways, really. America is not the place that one can speak of as a place of destiny today for any individual. I mean, everything is so uncertain. Everything is so uncertain about America today. But I think it's going to pass. It's going to pass, as the Bible says. Such things will pass, and some normality is going to come back. If not in America, but around America, and around the fact that America has turned out to be what it is. Americans are good people, but it looks like what we are seeing too globally is the rise of the far right, in a big way, and a growth of nationalism, amongst in Europe. You see it. I'm not sure if Trump is inspired by what is going on in Europe, because I think the far right in Europe, Le Pen and the man in France and so forth, and in Italy and those places, they are very anti-immigration. They describe what is happening as not immigration, but a genuine effort to replace, who they consider to be the real people of Europe. And I'm like, America is going through that period, but it just can't happen in America. It just can't happen in America. America had plantation slavery, and black people have fought, to be where they are today, and so, it just won't happen. And I think Trump wants to be remembered as a person who started a revolution of anti-immigration, a revolution of reliving this white supremacy thing that they once had in America prior to the civil rights movement. And it exists all the time, but I think Trump is just fanning those flames once again. And I'm very surprised of him, to be quite honest, and I can't speak friendly of him as I did before.
Yeah, I believe that a lot of persons, really can't at this point in time. A lot of persons, I am sure, must be regretting, the day that they voted for him. But one of the things, one of the countries that abandoned the citizens, to the U.S. is Haiti. And and when we look at Haiti, there's a saying that when your neighbor's house is on fire, you wet yours. When we really look at this, to me, this president, acts in a way that he may just get up on the wrong side of the bed and say, well, you too, and you too, and you too. And God forbid if that's supposed to happen to St. Kitts Nevis, to us in the Lesser Antilles, even the wider region, because Haiti is actually a part of us. Haiti is a part of CARICOM, so we have to understand this and see what the implications may be. I know it's Haiti as a country and not but we have to really look at it and see what implications there might be for the rest of us and start to wet.
Of course we are still American tourists still, but even that's going to be impacted too, in the longer run. But not so much of a long run. Trump only got a few more years left.
But what I'm saying, Naya.
But if there's a recession that comes on in the U.S., then of course people got less money to come over here to travel and so forth.
But Naya, you're saying all night long that Trump has just a few more years. But Trump has insisted that he's going to run in 2028.
Yeah.
I do not know the Constitution like that, the U.S. Constitution, but
it
appears to me that he would have seen some loophole, and where he can probably run again. So I don't know.
Would you say that his presidency has not been as successful at this point as he
but
would have liked it to be? The fact that the wars are still happening. He's not saying pleasant things about the Russian president now, Putin.
He's not saying pleasant thing about his bosom buddy, Mr. Moss,
That is in dire straits as well,
right? So a lot of people seem as if Elon Musk, went public and said that he's the one who basically won the elections for him, and President Trump would have called him sort of derogatory names. So we have to see what would unfold in coming weeks. But back to the question that you asked, if I believe that his presidency has been a success to date, I mean, some would say yes, and of course some would say no. But then the question is, what yardstick are we using to measure the success to date? That is crucial and critical, for us to come to a conclusion. Because without the particular yardstick, how can we come to a conclusion? He may say that yes, he is successful to date because he would have done what he intended to do, and he's continuing to do what he intended to do. And what he intended to do, maybe most of us didn't know or didn't understand the magnitude and the gravity of what he really meant. I mean, some months ago, right in this program, when it was said that he said he's going to make America great again, the question was asked what he meant by making America great again. So according to his definition, he's well on the way to making America great again. But we, on the other hand, may very well disagree with him, and we may feel as if that hey, he's not making America great, he's making America less great.
Okay, well, inflation is what? We have not impacted on inflation. The wars in Ukraine, the war is still going on. The war in Israel is still going on. I don't think you have impact positively on the price of oil in any way. I mean, this baby drill thing, the economists are saying that he's got to find that balance between, American oil and prices that the consumer are forced to deal with. To me, you have not really settled in yet, because all these thing about students and so forth, to me, it's reactionary. It's a reaction to students' demonstration and being pro-Palestinian.
And I mean, one would ask, really and truly, international student, yes, with the Caribbean would be found part of international students. But I am saying, when we really look at the bigger picture, who in the Caribbean is impacting on what you would have said in terms of the protests and stuff like that? None of us basically. So why, just lump us? Why you couldn't go by demograph? Like, just leave the Caribbean out of it, so to speak. Why generalize? All international students must be, visa appointment would be suspended.
Well, it's an umbrella approach. Anybody who is not Americans. I mean, do you know if any embassy have been closed? The Barbados embassy is still up and running? People still going there and getting visas and so?
Yes, but this applies basically to student visas and not
but I just asked in a general sense. Are they still giving visas? Yeah. You know what I mean? To go to America. Okay, well, in God we trust.
But I think the Prime Minister was on the news, our Prime Minister, Honorable Jew, Dr. Jew, was on the news the other day, and he would have said that he was in contact with the embassy in Barbados, and, basically this, if we want to call it an impasse, would basically soon be over. Just paraphrasing. So, I guess there's light at the end of the tunnel, and we just hope that soon is not defined. I may get some licks for this, but not defined as soon in the Bible.
Oh.
So.
Well, let's hope that things can get ironed out and our students can be back in university in America and fulfilling their dreams. This is very important to the region, But a lot of those policies maybe be not too bad because we brain drain a lot to America, and maybe that kind of attitude will, make the good-minded, the intelligent people stay home some more and be part of the debate and the talk that get results.
You're going to get results? So you said that the person had called and there were some results?
Yeah, but he's speaking in parables.
Well, I guess when you all meet in twos,
No. I could imagine what he's going to be telling me.
You can imagine.
He's sending the message.
He's sending the message.
Yeah. You have sent the message.
In parables.
In parables.
But not everybody can do that,
I know.
Speak in parables. The guy who did that most was a genius.
You did that. You do that a lot too, Webbo, they say.
But am I a genius? That's the last word. This program repeats tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock following the VON News Minute. Join the Honorable Mark Brantley tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock for On Demand. Join Keith Scarborough at 8 o'clock on Thursday evening for Government at Work, a place where you can spend all your evenings right here in the Eastern Caribbean Spa House. Thank you all again for joining us. This is your voice in the community. Thought that get results. You all have a wonderful evening.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program will solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or